one of our last stories today that I wanted to just touch on, which is something that I spoke to at the beginning of the show, which was like, episode 118, I was talking about, the insider tips or whatever that was shared with me, talking about different things. And I've seen the conversation continued elsewhere in the ecosystem. And there was one that was kind of interesting that kind of, attached to the monster use case in Q3. And those are the words that were used by my source. And again, if you want more info on that specific topic, go listen to episode 118. But on the community subreddit, on the Hedera subreddit, obviously someone talking about this, what this could be and some predictions. And, it was mentioned by itsbrandond that there would be a monster use case expected in Q3, blah, blah, blah. So obviously there's some time before we get to Q3 or that, whatever it could be. But myself and people in the community are kind of like, well, what could that be? What would be deemed like a monster use case? And, just to be clear, no information in that regard was shared with me. Nothing in relation to kind of what it could be. So kind of in this, I just was curious about this thread, because there's some cool ideas in here about maybe what it could be. And I wanted to highlight this because some of it I just forgot about, to be honest, some of it I just literally forgot about. So we've got Dell's use case that's set to come live. We've got the Coupon Bureau, that is obviously making moves. They have a new CEO, lots of breadcrumbs swirling around there. The most notable development that we talked about on the show recently was the fact that Toshiba's point of sale systems, which are the most used in the world, were or had integrated the 8112 standard. So there's blockers being removed for the Coupon Bureau use case. Also, it could potentially be Neuron being integrated into the FAA and the UK equivalent. We've seen so many substantial developments with Neuron, which has been great. Also could be drop related. Could be Bank Social. We've seen some big announcements out from Bank Social. Is there a use case for Mondelez? Is there a use case from BitGo? BitGo is very interesting too, because a lot of folks don't know BitGo actually runs 6 mirror nodes for Hedera for, I guess, their internal purposes. They, from what I understand about BitGo, is they're pretty ingrained at this point into the Hedera ecosystem and network and providing those types of services. And so they're ones that I think are very, very interesting. And again, like we talked about on the show previously, and like Charles, the president of Hedera, was saying, it took a while for BitGo to get on the governing council, and BitGo was working on use cases. They're Web3 specialists, all these different types of things. And there was, for whatever reason, kind of a hesitancy from the governing council to onboard Web3 companies, as kind of Charles articulated something to the effect of that on a Spaces last week or the week before. And so kind of, it feels to me like BitGo is really, raring a BitGo. And so I'd expect something, if we look at the roadmap or length of time from joining the governing council to launching a use case, I think BitGo would probably be one of the shortest. I think that for other governing council members that join this year, it would be a stretch to say they would be launching a use case in Q3. My personal thoughts, Mondelez, probably not. Dell, probably not. But BitGo, BitGo, I don't know. It seems like they're already kind of chooching there. So I wouldn't say that's crazy. Also too, Hyundai, another one that kind of, we haven't really talked about a ton, but right. Hyundai really announcing that they're using Hedera for real-time carbon offset tracking for their supply chain stuff. Very similar to Atma.io. That is very cool. That could potentially be a monster use case, I would say. Also, too, Fresh Supply Co. They are ones that we talk about on the show a lot, and I think that ones are pretty hyped for in the community, especially with their ties to MasterCard, and also having just won the award in Tokyo for innovation in the carbon offset space. So FSCO, Fresh Supply Company, another one. And, having kind of read those, I think there's a little bit more of a discussion on here. I don't know. This stuff's fun. I mean, I don't like, I'm still a sucker for that stuff. I guess maybe that's kind of like the old school H barbarian in me is like, I love, you know, what could be happening? Who could the new governing council member be? I love doing that stuff. Sometimes I get bummed out when, you know, you kind of do some predictions and kind of whatever. And it's like, there's a bit of a jaded quality sometimes this ecosystem of like, oh, screw those people or, oh, that will never happen. It's like, you know, I think that, you know, I've shared enough of my skepticism and, you know, whatever, you know, against like whatever organization it is, of the week. But like, I love dreaming up this stuff or like predicting things or whatever. I think it's fun.